night fell over Ettermore, and the fire began to consume everything. The flames weren't born from hatred. They were born from sacrifice. In the heart of the muddy village knelt a woman, Seraphine, cloaked in crimson. Her hair soaked and tangled, her eyes black as the space between stars. Her daughter, Eliza, was already cold. The plague had taken her. Not a fever of this world. Something darker. Still, Seraphine fought. With herbs, with prayers, with blood. She was just a mother. But the village called her a witch. Your child is the devil's spawn. You must die. In the name of God. The priest raised his Bible. Children threw stones. The rope around her wrists cut deep. Pus and blood oozing. Seraphine bled, but smiled, not from madness, but resolve. You took my daughter, so now I'll take yours. And with those words, the fire roared higher. Her skin melted, her bones screamed. But she did not. She whispered to the wind, to the earth, to the silence. I speak. Every 6 years, on the 6th day of June, I will return. One for each year I suffered, and the earth responded. Torches snuffed out. Voices went mute. And in the swamp beyond the village, a black wooden box surfaced, wrapped in something like skin. Its lid etched in ancient Romani glyphs. Inside, 22 tarot cards, and one more, a card soaked in crimson, a woman's eyes bleeding, a dead child in her arms. The woman was Seraphine, the child, Eliza. 6 years passed. No one believed in curses, until the first child vanished. In the woods outside Ettermore, among branches twisted like snake trails, a sound echoed. Mom, I'm cold. It's so dark. But there was no child, only a tarot card nailed into bark. The hanged man. The face on it, eerily familiar. Then it happened again. And again. Every 6 years, on June 6th, a child disappeared. Each time, a card remained. And each new card began to look more and more like the missing child. Someone whispered, "The cards are alive." 198 years later, a priest wrote in his final record, Ettermore's curse was no myth. She was no demon. Every demon is born from human pain. She may have been purer than any of us. Then he hung himself, leaving behind a single card. Justice. June 1st, 2024, Ettermore is now a tourist site. Once called the Witches' Village, now a place for campers, influencers, thrill seekers. That day, 6 teenagers laughed by the river. Libby skipped a stone. She slipped and found something hard beneath the water. A box, wrapped in something that felt like human skin. Etchings on the lid, a child's face carved into the leather. "This is a real tarot deck or what?" Kai laughed and opened the box. Wind tore through the trees. Branches twisted like limbs in pain. The laughter stopped. Inside, 6 cards. Each one reflected their own face. What the hell? Is this a mirror? Libby flipped one over. The lovers. 2 figures embraced, Eliza and Seraphine. Then, from the woods, a child's laughter. Small, faint, old. It begins. Again. Forest was silent. But it wasn't peace. It was a whisper, calling someone's name. That night, after returning from the river, the 6 teenagers sat around the fire, staring at the cards, pulled from the box wrapped in something like skin. 6 cards. No one spoke, but they all knew something had begun. Death, the tower, the devil, the lovers, judgment. Wheel of Fortune. Day 2, June 2nd. The first was Kai. That morning, he mumbled to himself. Had a weird dream last night. Someone was calling me at the river. Play with me, brother. But the voice was wrong. By noon, Kai had fallen from a cliff, his body unrecognizable. In his hand, the hanged man. The police ruled it an accident. The funeral was quiet. The others returned home, but Libby knew it wasn't over. Something had followed them. Day 3, June 3rd. Libby opened her drawer. Inside, a card she swore they had burned. The lovers. It was hot to the touch, and her own face stared back at her. Then a text from Nia. The mirror's been acting weird. It keeps smiling back, but I'm not smiling. That night, Nia vanished from her bathroom. The window was locked, the mirror shattered. In every shard, a reflection of Nia's face. Day 4th, June 4th. Maya heard whispering every night. Why are you still here? Why you? Why? At school, she started drawing strange symbols on the blackboard, her eyes clouded. The teacher recommended counseling. That afternoon, she told Libby, Nia's not dead. She's just behind the mirror. Libby's spine froze. She wasn't sure what was real anymore. Day 5th, June 5th. Luke kept waking to a card by his bed. The devil. Then his game glitched. The character spoke. You're next. He stopped sleeping, called Libby. This isn't a prank. We opened something. Day 6th, June 6th. Ezra searched the library, old manuscripts, tarot origins, and found a name. Seraphine, listed in Scottish witch trial records. Sphere was real. She started all of this. At the same time, Libby discovered another card, Wheel of Fortune. The moment her fingers touched it, her heart nearly stopped. In the mirror, a face smiled back, but it wasn't hers. And then, a whisper, halfway there. Who's next? It was raining before dawn. Libby awoke, standing in front of a mirror. Her face was streaked with dried blood, a strange circular sigil drawn on her hand, as if by her own fingers. And on the table, a card, the High Priestess. But this card was never in the box. June 7th. At school, Libby felt eyes piercing through her. Even her closest friends didn't approach, as if she was something else. "Do you know what you've opened?" Ezra's voice came from behind. He'd spent 3 days tracing records in the library. Seraphine, a Romani healer, burned alive 300 years ago in Scotland. She left behind one sentence: "On the 6th day of June, every 6 years, I return." Libby froze. That was the whisper she heard by the river. She chose us, the 6 of us. Ezra unrolled old papers, witch trial records, and one name repeated over and over. Eliza, Seraphine's daughter, died of the plague. The village blamed her mother, called her a witch, burned her alive. And then, one line never written in any book. She asked only to protect her child's soul, and she never closed her eyes. That night, Luke suffered another hallucination. In the mirror, he smiled, but upside down. A baby's hand reached from under his bed, grabbing his ankle. He screamed and ran to the window. Outside, a woman in a red robe, black eyes, a child cradled in her arms, and she smiled. The next morning, Luke never came to school. Maya suddenly grabbed Libby's wrist. Her hand was cold. You're not alone. There's someone inside you. She's calling. She's trying to enter. Libby's breath caught. She remembered dreams she had forgotten. A child crying in fire. A voice that wasn't hers. Memories that weren't her own. June 8th, Libby's journal. She had begun writing in her sleep, hand moving on its own. When she read it, it was a diary. Seraphine's diary. Eliza still cannot breathe properly. I betrayed God for this child. I trust no one now. When they burned us, my heart never turned cold. Libby trembled. Seraphine was alive, inside her. There are 22 major arcana cards, right? You only found 6. That means those 6 were ritual offerings. Each card must bear the face of a child to bring her back into flesh. So, if the other 4 die, she returns. In this world, with a body. Libby stood before the mirror again. But this time, the face in the reflection wasn't smiling. She was crying. The child, Seraphine's daughter, Eliza. She's still alive, and in that moment, Libby's voice changed. The girl in the mirror whispered, "Mom, I'm still here." Libby shattered the mirror. But in every shard, a face smiled back, not hers. One cried, one held a child's eyes, and the largest shard, it spoke. "You're not you anymore. You're us." June 9th, Maya's death. Maya couldn't sleep. Every night, a burning child's hand touched her bed. Every time she closed her eyes, that hand covered her mouth. Like a flash of static, she saw fire. Not Seraphine's body, her own. That evening, Maya left her house and disappeared. The next morning, only ashes remained on her bed, and one card, the sun. A woman holding a child's hand, but the child's hand was bleeding, and the sun was smiling. Libby's voice began to echo, twice. She wasn't speaking, yet her mouth moved. and something whispered. I watched them burn. Flesh, breath, innocence. They treated me like a beast. You're just like me, Libby. She screamed, but the voice wasn't hers. She clutched her head, and memories not her own came flooding in. The plague, her daughter choking, hands grinding herbs in secret. The last gasp, Mom. And then, fire, 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 Libby whispered. I'm Seraphine. No, I'm Libby. Ezra watched from a distance. He didn't come closer. He just wrote. Her voice, her walk, her eyes. He knew. Libby wasn't alone anymore. If she's the vessel, will she choose who dies? Or will she even have a choice? He hesitated. If he killed her, maybe it would all end. But in her eyes, deep inside, Libby was still crying, tainted. Luke's death. Luke returned 2 days later, but he said nothing. He just drew. A braining child, a woman with no eyes, and finally, Libby's face. 2 a.m. Luke jumped from his window. The police ruled it another accident. But Libby saw it, the card in his hand. The world, a bloody circle carved into its center. In the mirror, Libby stood. Across from her, Seraphine. And behind her, a child. Seraphine, now you know the pain. I'll be born again through you, and no one will take her from me ever again. Libby, you're a monster. Eliza, the child. Mom, please stop. I'm okay now. For the first time, Seraphine's face faltered. They didn't just burn me. They tore us apart. Her shadow embraced Libby. And in that moment, Libby's eyes split. One was hers. The other, Seraphine's. Ezra raised a knife. Now, this is the only way to end it. But Libby didn't cry. She didn't beg. If it were that easy, it would have ended long ago. In her hand, one final card. The Fool. Something had begun. The last sacrifice was still alive. And Libby was no longer Libby. June 11th, 3:33 a.m. Libby's eyes opened, or rather, someone else opened them. Her hands moved on their own. Her feet knew where to go. Out of the house, into the woods. The final ritual had begun. In the heart of the forest, beneath ruins no one remembered, stood the remains of a forgotten execution. Burnt trees, ash, the bones of the past. There, 5 cards had already been placed. The lovers, the tower, the devil, the world, the sun. One final space remained. In Libby's hand, the Fool. Ezra had followed. He grabbed her arm one last time. Drop the card. This isn't you. But Libby didn't smile. Her eyes were not her own. One was Seraphine's, black, burning. The other, dull and clouded, Libby's fading soul. And behind them both, Eliza's gentle, childlike gaze. Seraphine, my vengeance is unfinished. You burned me. You stole my child. You erased my name. I can stop you. You can't destroy me. You are me. The cards lifted, spiraled into fire. A crimson circle blazed beneath Libby's feet. Libby's mind fractured. Within her stood 3 figures. Seraphine, red robe, blazing eyes, the goddess of vengeance. Eliza, a child with a blood-stained doll. Libby, barefoot, exhausted, holding a broken card. This isn't for all of us. You tried to protect us, but now we have to protect you. You've seen it. The pain of losing a child is worse than any death. Mom, it's okay now. I was here. I was always here. Seraphine looked down for the first time. Blood trickled from her hands. She cried, but her tears sounded like fire, screaming through the air. Ezra stepped forward. Libby, remember when I first called your name? Kai, Nia, Maya, Luke. They all believed in you. Libby closed her eyes. One by one, the cards burst into flame in her hand. With each scream, a piece of Seraphine's soul was torn away and burned into the fire. At last, Eliza stepped forward and wrapped her arms around Libby. Libby held her close and whispered, "Goodbye, Eliza." Eliza smiled and faded into light. Libby's eyes became one again. June 12th. Libby woke up in a hospital bed. Ezra was beside her. "Is it over?" she asked. Ezra nodded. But that night, a breeze brushed the hospital window, soft, barely there. And then a child's laugh, low, gentle, ancient. On the window, a small handprint. Below it, a card. Judgment. I was burned, but never forgotten. Now it's time to speak the next name.